Happy to be here this morning. Hope you've all enjoyed your quick coffee break there. Before we kick off, a few words about me. Essentially been with Binder since 2012, right around the beginning, and helping it grow since then. Currently in a role of head of solution within the team, that basically supports brands globally in their digital transformation. Feel free to reach out to me after the session, for example through LinkedIn. Just as a quick note, aside from my surname, there's very little German about me, so please do it in English. Can imagine that Binder is not a familiar name for everyone. We've been around since 2013, so almost completing our fifth year now. And so what we've done is what has started as a project for an image bank. Really is now a global DAM supplier, digital asset management, and we do this exclusively on a cloud base, and also as also was mentioned before, in a SaaS structure. Thank you. Over time, we've now grown to a portfolio of roughly 317 clients, primarily with a focus on branding and as well as e-commerce. And last year, we've been able to secure Series A funding of roughly just over 22 million, which basically allows us to accelerate our growth even further. We now have an active user base, roughly 150,000 users that have stored and use right around 6.5 million assets ongoingly. What was started as a single office in Rotterdam, really very much development heavy. We now have 6 offices globally, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, but also London and Boston more as more commercial offices. And very recently, just last summer, we opened up an office in Dubai as well. So more about how that all came to be. I think it was also mentioned before. There's a content chaos. There's an enormous growth in terms of content. This is just one example, but I think we're all familiar with it. Really every day we see ebooks, blog posts, white papers, videos, many more. And we also come to expect this. It's different from, let's say, 10, 15 years back, where our main way of consumption was, for example, on a paper magazine or on a billboard along the highway. Now we really expect these kinds of personalized advertisements brought to us, and that's really the area as well that we operate in and try to help the different marketing teams that we service. Quick quote from Puma. In this case, Binder platform has helped us on a global marketing level to manage our assets really in a completely different manner than we have ever done before. And what they mean with that is that they initially were very decentralized, in a way isolated within their team, but also between different offices. And with the system that we've set up, they've now started to learn from each other. They started to share content while still having and even more having control over who gets to see what, who gets to use what, and who is actually allowed to use what in what place and time. What we also notice here that there isn't a particular focus on an industry, for example. The business of Puma is very different than that of Air France KLM, the airliner, or AkzoNobel or Innocent. Why is that? It's because the tool is quite configurable, very flexible, and we can really tailor for those specific use cases that makes most sense. So what do? We very much position ourselves as a one-stop shop for branding and marketing teams. Very much focusing on centralizing and organizing all of those digital assets that are around, that we try to get grips with, that we try to get under control in a way, and do it in a way that is up to date with the latest branding guidelines, for example, that makes sense with our latest sales effort, and basically portray the brand image that we wanted portray in the best way possible. We also do it in a way that correlates best with the way the organization is set up. So that's very focused on visibility of ownership and users' rights and license rights along the way. Like I said at the beginning, we are an exclusively cloud-based organization, and the tool is set up in such a way that it's agile to set up, and that is quite a big difference, because digital asset management as an industry or as a product isn't particularly new, but the way we do it really emphasizes configuration over customization. So there's no huge IT project. You get to market quite rapidly, and it can scale as you go, and really can incorporate all of the learnings that there are. A second thing is the move from sort of product to platform, and that's something that also makes sense in sort of the context of this conference, because you really want to have control, not just in this one instance. You really want to have control over the entire lifetime of the asset, and really at every point where it gets used, and that is something that we really try to focus on a lot. And the way we do that is it very much starts with the actual adoption of the tool. It starts with setting up a system that, yes, needs to centralize all of the assets, but then it actually has to get used. Because that's also something that we've seen a lot in the past. You set up an amazing system, but if it doesn't get adopted, if there's no actual end user usage, then people start working around the system rather than actually focus on the tool itself. So that's the second thing there. In the context of how do we get to analyze and basically do more with our assets, we've actually also adopted. We're actually one of the users of Amazon recognition software, and the reason, basically to take you a little bit into our thought process there, is we've always been trying to come up with new ideas and fresh ideas on how to organize things best and make things basically smarter and easier for our clients, and making sure that they have the best visibility on everything that's out there for clients. And what I'll also show later in the demo is what we've always been able to do is you upload an asset, and everything that is already embedded will be able to extract, and you'll be able to choose as an admin user to select those items and have them used and incorporated in, for example, the search engine in the system, and use them for search and filtering. But with volume, this can still be essentially quite a painful process. And this is using Amazon recognition software, we can accelerate that process and make it a bit smarter, and then also a little bit richer. And so we've started on this journey. We recognized the needs, and we also made an internal analysis of how much time to would it take us to really build it ourselves, because we're a tech company at heart. We wherever we can, we try to do it ourselves. But in this case, it was very, very clear. It would have taken us at least a year to get anywhere. And this is technology. Would have probably taken us 18 months and 12 months, and then you're really only at alpha stage. Using this service, we got it up and running in 4 weeks. Integrating using the RESTful API, very, very clear cut. Adrian showed us the JSON calls. Very simple to set up. We got it up and running in 4 weeks. And at this point, I've just this morning double checked the numbers. We're basically analyzing around 60,000 images each day, which is quite a lot, obviously. The second thing I want to touch upon is, like I said, we want to be a one-stop shop for anything around marketing needs. And one thing that is very important for us is to be an integrated solution and a scalable platform. The first thing there is it has to be an integration of different products or solutions essentially. There's one element which describes how should we portray an image, or in what instance, or which things best used. But it's also around a piece of project management, the approval process around it. Once it is approved and it's out there, how do we make sure that we keep control and maybe archive it once it gets out of date? All these kinds of things, and we want to do it on a global level. We want to do it where the client is, and that's, for example, why we've just this year also opened up, or we've added an instance in Sydney. So we're really now truly on around the world, wherever we can. Second thing is the scalability also matters in terms of localization, and this is almost more of a regulatory and legislative argument. There are many instances where clients come over to us. Sure, I like the global pitch, but for us, we really want to have everything within EU borders, or the other way around. We as an American company, it has to be HIPAA compliant, which means that nothing can leave the US borders. And that's also something that AWS has allowed us to do. Again, making sure that things are consumed at the right place, the right time, and in accordance with all of the rules and regulations. As an integrated platform within the digital asset management area, we're essentially focusing on positioning ourselves as a single source of truth. And what does that mean is that it's all around reusability and making sure that things are used in appropriate ways. That also means it's not just about making sure that the right image is in the right size on an e-commerce platform, for example, but it's also about once we get using these kind of images and we use them, for example, on a poster or a flyer, what do we have to take into account? And in what corporate process or governance structure do we have to frame it within? This is where also the different modules come into play. So, for example, some of the templates that we use, we can include it in a workflow, as we see here on the left, and we can reuse all of these metadata pieces at any point within the lifecycle of the asset. Few observations then. What we did note is, as any startup, essentially, you have to be careful for custom development, and that's always a balance we're trying to find. We still want to be, agile. We want to have a proposition that makes sense for most. But we also have to be careful in finding a balance between, how is this not going to be, slowing us down in the longer run? The second point is, and I think this was also mentioned before, sort of the human side in technology. Technology can only do so much in a way, and I think that's always important to keep an eye on. Even considering user-friendly interface, even considering all of the checks and balances you can put into play. You have to try to find a balance between accessibility and also being in balance with control and protection of your assets. And there's a certain amount of trust that you need to place into the user community and control where it's necessary. Something else that we've really noticed is if you look historically at the market for digital asset management, this really started only as a technology that was only accessible for the very largest brands in the world. Binder, but also definitely also other players in the market have really tried to make this accessible also for SMEs and smaller brands that are out there. And I think this is a trend that you'll see further down in the next few years as well. And I think this is definitely an area that we can also grow in. Just a quick quote then from our CEO, who tends to think of them almost as a commodity that is that's needed, that's out there. Everyone wants to organize, make sure that we can use our content at the right place at the right time, but also in an appropriate manner. And that's also where I think you should read this also in the context of let's not see this in an isolated manner, but really throughout the life cycle of its assets, of the assets use. That's also where sort of our mission comes in. Then for everyone, no longer a heavy project that might take 12, 18, maybe 24 months to set up. Really for everyone, quick and simple, very much focused on end user adoption, and it has to be about the end user rather than about the IT manager in that sense. Then quick demo on how it all actually looks like. And what you'll see, this is basically one of our login page. Not typically the the best way to start a demo with, but I do want to point it out because it already shows, how easy it is, and and what are the different ways to add content to the system. And this is actually one of the most used features within the system, simply because it doesn't require any registration, but it does allow for a guaranteed or controlled way of feeding new content into the system. And what you'll see is similar to the experience of a regular upload, is that it's straight away extracts all of the metadata and allowing for controlled and staged approve and upload process afterwards. So once we dive, so this is a quick look on the dashboard. Scrolling down, we can straight away dive into a particular area of the system. That's in this case, filtered down on geography, but this can be set up in any way you'd like, of course. And this is the main screen within the module, the DAM module. And what we'd like to do there is set up, a different way and then a particular set of filters. So what we do here is, rather than using a more traditional folder structure, you're really quite flexible in the way you set it up. You can have a hierarchy like this, but you can also really start combining things in terms of, let's say we want to have Spring content combination with, it has to be RGB, and straight away filters down, and you'll be with your selection in a matter of seconds in that sense. This again really emphasizes the need of having all of that metadata in place. And repurposing it again and again for consumption. What we also see here is, once the Wi-Fi picks up, there we go, is that it comes up automatically with results. Obviously, I've typed Amsterdam, so it comes up with Amsterdam results, but it also comes up with tulips in that sense. Still related to Amsterdam, as you can imagine. But in this case, it came through one of these tags. And this is really where the use of tags is so important, because this will really help the end user to quickly find what they're looking for. We were talking about the automated tagging and sort of the Chihuahua muffin exercise, and was preparing a little bit for this demo. I actually noted that our development team also found it, and I also used it. And let's see if it works also within Binder. Well, actually it does. So here you can see both the Chihuahua as well as the muffin. Oh, there we go. So also the combination, Adrian, also works. And I'd like to leave it at that. Thank you very much.